This is the Eye for an Eye channel. Welcome to today's show. I apologize for my voice. It's shoddy. I've been under the weather the last couple of days, but I want to continue to get content out, so bear with me with my voice. It's gotten worse over the last couple of days. But here we go. I want to cover this story that was in the New York Post, and I'm going to show you a news clip because it actually aired on the news. A teacher is on leave after allegedly dressing as the devil and telling kids as they entered the classroom to hail Satan. Now you might say, oh, wait, you're covering this because it's Halloween, right? Well, this actually happened a week before Halloween, and it wasn't costume day at school. None of the kids were in costumes. None of that was going on. The teacher just decided that he wanted to dress as the devil and shove a pitchfork in kids' faces and then tell them to hail Satan. And thankfully, there was one of the kids in the classroom reported it to the principal, and he's in the interview here. The kid is pretty great. He goes, he pretty much says, they ask him if he should just be suspended or be fired, and he says, nah, I think he should be fired for it. And I agree, I'm not really for people losing their jobs. As somebody who's been thrown off YouTube 100 times, just because people disagree with my opinion, it's not really fair, but anybody who worships or supports Satan, I'm all for not only them losing their jobs, I'm all for them being thrown in a jail cell, to be honest with you, because everything that occurred for the last hundreds of years, what happened with witches and Satanists, is exactly what should be going on now. But of course, witches and Satanists hide behind certain religions that are protected, and of course, other religions like Christianity are not protected, so they hide behind those and all the teachings, of course, in their books nobody knows about because they don't question these people, a la bagels. These people, throughout history, have been chased out of wherever they've been. Had a lot of bad things happen to them, all because they're sick, perverse people. And we've convinced people, apparently, in today's society that, they don't really believe in the devil. They only wear all these clothes with the devil on it. They only, I love the Satanic Temples thing. Like, we only say Hail Satan every time we speak, but we don't really worship the devil, right? And if this was happening anywhere and a Christian was in school, or a Christian teacher was in school and was reading out of the Bible, not only would they be fired, they probably would be put in jail and sued by the families and sued by the school district and everybody else in between. But since it was somebody dressed as the devil, we're supposed to shrug it off because remember, Satanists don't actually worship the devil, they tell us. Satanists are more like, it's an ideology. We don't really worship the devil as they yell, Hail Satan. Oh, here, look at this news clip. Unbelievable.
New at 10, a high school teacher out of Mesa is being investigated after some students said that teacher dressed up as the devil and told students, Hail Satan. That teacher is now on administrative leave. 12 News journalist Chase Golightly spoke with one of those students tonight and has the story. Chase?
That reported incident happened here at Mesa High School last week. We're told the teacher has been out of the classroom since Thursday, and at least one parent we spoke with tonight said it should stay that way. Sophomore Nathaniel Hamlet walked into class to see his teacher dressed like this.
He was wearing little horns with a pitchfork. He was saying Hail Satan and putting the pitchfork over everyone's head.
Taking this photo of his Mesa High School teacher on Wednesday. At this time, it's not clear why the teacher decided to dress like this.
Some people thought it was funny, some people didn't like it, some people were like, whatever, they just blew it off.
But Hamlet wasn't a fan of it.
Kind of insulted because my faith, because I believe in God. I don't really like how he did it and what he did.
When he asked the teacher to stop,
and I said, don't do that to me, and I pushed it away maybe 3 or 4 times. And he still said it and still did it and reached back as I was walking into the classroom and did it again.
Hamlet then told his dad, Chris, a former Mesa Public School Board candidate, about it.
Of course I was livid because I am a Christian as well, obviously. What really tipped it over for me is he kept telling him no and the teacher kept persisting.
Chris then called the principal to report what happened. Both believe what the teacher allegedly did in school was not appropriate.
I don't think it's okay, joking or not. If you're going to keep the Christian stuff out, then you got to keep the devil worshiping stuff out.
The next day, that teacher was placed on paid administrative leave. Mesa Public Schools telling us they are investigating.
I feel like that's fair, but he did it a lot repeatedly to everyone, so I feel like he should probably get fired.
Chris Hamlet also believes the teacher should be let go. Other parents who did not want to go on camera said, while they don't agree with what the teacher did, firing them may take it too far. Now, I did reach out to the teacher to get their side of the story. However, I have not heard back at this time. The district says it will continue its investigation into this situation. We're in Mesa tonight. Chase Golightly, 12 News.
All right, Chase, thank you.
So the kid's great because, the kid is pretty much just like, nah, I think he should be fired. And I agree because I don't think anybody who's a Satanist or a devil worshiper should have any freedoms in our society. I'm at a point where I'm sick of even sugarcoating it, how I feel about witches and the devil. These people have constantly been taken care of in society, whether it was private justice or by the law throughout history, because they've been exposed. Now they control the law. They control the government. They're all infiltrated inside of it, so they're fully protected. And then they play dumb that they don't really worship the devil, and all these idiots we live among actually believe them, yet they stand there and say, "Hail Satan." So the teacher's on leave, hopefully fired soon, after dressing as the devil, telling kids "Hail Satan." An Arizona high school teacher has been removed from the classroom for allegedly dressing up as the devil and greeting students entering the classroom with "Hail Satan." Mesa High School sophomore Nathaniel Hamlet claims his teacher walked into class Wednesday wearing devil horns and carrying a pitchfork, which he waved over students' heads as they entered the room to the "Hail Satan" greeting. Some people thought it was funny. Some people didn't like it. Some people were like, whatever, they just blew it off. It wasn't clear if the teacher was dressed up in anticipation of Halloween or because it was school spirit week. But Hamlet, a devout Christian, said he was offended and repeatedly asked the educator to stop. I said, "Don't do that to me." And I pushed the pitchfork away maybe 3 to 4 times. And he still said it, and he still did it. Now, whoever this twerp is, of course, this teacher I'm talking about, had his face blurred out because most Satanists are cowards. And I wouldn't be surprised in the classroom if there was some type of pride flag as well. So Hamlet then told his dad, Chris Hamlet, a former Mesa Public School Board candidate who reported the incident to the principal. Of course I was livid because I'm a Christian as well. What really tipped it over for me is he kept telling him no, and the teacher kept persisting. The teacher, who has not been publicly identified, was not in the classroom the next day and has not been back since. Mesa Public Schools said the educator has been placed on paid administrative leave while it investigates. I feel like that's fair, but he did it repeatedly to everyone, so I feel like he should probably get fired. His father agreed, telling the outlet, "I don't think it's okay, joking or not. If you're going to keep the Christian stuff out, you got to keep the devil worshiping stuff out." But that's my point of covering this, is that we've gotten to a point where like, well, if we're going to keep Christian stuff out, we should keep devil worshiping stuff out. How are we even allowing devil worshiping to exist in our society? Like, these people are so stupid. They think that these people worship the devil and it's just some fun, hokey thing that they do. Okay, if you study Aleister Crowley, you study all of the Satanists and the occult and what they do blood offerings and blood sacrifice. Okay, that's why witches have been hung and all these things have happened to them throughout history, is because they're murderers. Like their father, the devil, they're also liars. Murderers and liars. And people somehow believe this stuff. They're like, oh, they worship the devil. And then they go, well, what's the Satanic Temple? And they go, oh, well, they don't really worship the devil. Oh, they don't really worship the devil? They're saying, "Hail Satan," as people, I mean, I covered, the Satanic Temple so many times over. I get so many bullying strikes for covering them, even though I'm a YouTuber. And they do these, events that they have, and they're all dressed up. And people think it's make-believe, the cloaks and all that kind of crap. You can just look at them and you know that they're Satanists. You can tell they smell. I mean, by looking at them, you can tell that they haven't showered in a long time. And they have just disgusting odors coming out of them. But anyway, what do they do at all these events? They get on stage and they talk about the thing they care about most is pro-choice, a woman's life to choose, for whatever reason, right? Nobody could figure out the connection there with child sacrifice. Are people that dumb? Apparently. Then they rip the Bible on stage, but they don't really believe in God or the devil, right? I mean, are you kidding me? What else do they do? Well, they go around. There's 2 other things the Satanic Temple does. They go around anywhere that there's people that claim to be victims of SRA, which is satanic ritual abuse. They go around and they mock them, and they show up at their meetings and they belittle them. And these are people who have claimed to have gone through abuse as children, and they don't care whatsoever, and nobody condemns these people for going after them and for bullying, of course, because all the rules are set up to protect these people, but not for long, because people like me are getting sick and tired of seeing it. I'm getting sick and tired of Christians turning a blind eye to it. I'm getting even sicker and tired of seeing Christians being deceived by their own pastors to support and be nice to these types of people. We're in the situation we're in now because we've allowed all these things to occur, because we've gone, well, we don't want to be violent. And no one's even calling for violence. This stuff should be outlawed. It should be banned. Put them in cells. Get them out of here. Okay? Satanists don't deserve to walk the same ground as other human beings, because these people are not human. And people go, oh, that's a ridiculous statement. I mean, what? Because they like Metallica and Marilyn Manson? No, because they worship the devil, and the devil asks for specific blood offerings amongst other things in their teachings that they follow, which is why I always refer back to the West Memphis 3. How come the West Memphis Three, they were arrested, they were put in jail. HBO decided of all the cases in the history of the world, they were going to do a documentary on this in the 90s, which was a big deal back then because there wasn't 9,000 places to go stream and watch stuff. And they did a documentary, and what happened? Oh, well, they made them into victims, right? Without actually looking at what the evidence was, they dismissed all of them. What was the evidence? Well, they had blood contracts to Aleister Crowley in their homes where they signed a contract in blood to Aleister Crowley. Aleister Crowley's books that were in their home talked about human sacrifice, specifically a sacrifice of children, right? And what did they do? They sacrificed children. And then all of a sudden, all the celebrities from Hollywood, all the ones we still see showing their true colors to Satan, like Johnny Depp and Eddie Vedder, et cetera, all showed up to get them out of prison. And then they were allowed out of prison despite admitting to guilt, like, some loophole in the system where they admitted to guilt, but they're let out of jail because that makes sense, right? And now they're free. And now what's the guy doing? The guy from the West Memphis Three? Damien Echols. Well, he's making money going around the country. He has an uncensored YouTube channel where he's doing what? Well, he's spell casting. He's teaching people how to do rituals. He's teaching people about black magic. But we're supposed to believe it's all make-believe, right? It's unbelievable. And they got him out of jail. And I see Christians, they go, oh, you got that wrong. I'm into cold case investigations and all this stuff. And they were definitely innocent. And it was the father. And it's just like, you just believe the propaganda because the propaganda is leading you there. They couldn't be more guilty. Also, all one would need to see is that they had a blood oath to Aleister Crowley. You wouldn't even need evidence. They threw the evidence out. They destroyed the evidence to get them out of jail. Now, I think that's because they were probably related in some way to someone high up, maybe even Crowley himself, that they felt they needed to make an example and let them out of prison. So history has shown us throughout history, including the McMartin preschool and other events where there's been child abductions, that people have found this stuff. They've seen this stuff, they've reported this stuff, and all these people got to walk. I've covered and I've shown on the website Uprising Revival some of these other cases, these other schools, the Oak School, nursery schools, etc. They find all the crap. They find Crowley stuff. They found pentagrams. They find bones of animals underneath the school because they've all been doing ritual sacrifice, and they just continue to get away with it. Why? Because we've allowed them to exist in our society, right? And even saying that someone's going to be like, he's calling to kill these people. I'm calling for these people to be in prison. Because throughout history, these people have never been allowed to walk amongst us. They've had to do this stuff and admit their faith in Satan in private, right? Like the Knights Templar, etc., who worship the Baphomet. They did this stuff in private. Now they do it out in the open, and we're just like, oh yeah, they don't really mean it. They're just trying to be hip and cool because we've become so desensitized to it. And then you say, wow, the world's really flipped on its head. We got boys pretending to be girls. We've got all this stuff. It all goes back to Satanism, right? It all goes back to the occult. It goes back to those specific books of the Bagels who actually don't really believe in what they claim, who worship the devil. Yeah, what do? We take them at their word for it. We don't worship the devil. Oh, okay. Well, what does the Bible tell us? Oh, they're liars, like their father, the devil, liars. And then you go, well, what are we supposed to do about it? Well, why do we have laws in place that protect people who all of their teachings are connected to murder and sacrifice and everything else that's absurd and wrong with society, like abortion, like ritual abuse of children, like sacrifice of children, like animal sacrifice. I don't know. Can it go on and on? How about the supporting of children castrating themselves? All of this stuff. I mean, when does enough become enough? And apparently it never does. It never does. And that's why they silence voices like me, because I don't stand for this and I won't ever stand for it. It makes me absolutely sick. That's why I'm doing a video where I can barely talk because my voice is gone, because I see this stuff and I'm like, should you even be hired to work at a school even if you pretend to claim to worship the devil? No, you shouldn't. You shouldn't be anywhere around children. But it should be worse than that. You shouldn't be anywhere around a town, right? Make a town for them like they want to do to us. They want to enslave us. Make a giant town for them. Put a massive fence around it. Actually, put a fence around it, put military around it, and let them live in there with their smart devices, with their insanity. We'll call it Sodom and Gomorrah 2.0. And let them live in there, and that'll be the nicest offering we give them. Okay, and they could run amok with each other and turn on each other because they won't be able to manipulate and deceive Christians anymore. So they'll just have to do it to one another and go on throughout life until their time expires. And then they can continue to do it in hell together while they're playing Duck, Duck, Goose with Elton John and everybody's bending over and singing Kumbaya. Okay? The absurdity that's going on in this world all goes back to these people. That's who it goes back to. And what are they portrayed as? Oh, it's the cool people. Another thing I always see is they're like, oh man, they're rebels. Are you joking me? rebels, not only are they losers, but they couldn't be further from being rebels. Okay? First of all, you look at these people, you can see every one of them is the biggest dork that ever went to your school times 10, right? Nobody wanted to be around them because they didn't shower. They had dandruff on their shoulders. And then they sit there and they're like, oh, but I'm a nice person. Like, oh, you're a nice person. So why do you have a book called, the Satanic Bible that you're reading here at school today? Oh, well, I'm trying to figure out how to be accepted. Oh, okay. Why don't you pick up a Bible and realize that it's not that hard to figure out the meaning of life because all the answers are in that book. Oh, but you're being a rebel, right? Now turn 20 years later to today's society. All these people are Satanists. They don't even realize it. And they're like, we're rebellious. It's like, no, you're not. You're just flat out losers is what you are. The ultimate rebel to ever exist is Jesus Christ. And they're like, that's dorky. Because they've inverted everything. They make it sound like these people are hard and edgy. They're pansies. These are the same people that call for censorship of speech, censorship of this, censorship of that. And they're the same people who want to hang out with your 3-year-old son or daughter. Okay? It's disgusting. They make me absolutely sick. Glad I got that off my chest. Hope everybody out there is doing well. I'm going to give my voice a rest now, but thanks for being here, everybody. Please make sure you sub to my backup channels if you haven't yet. They're linked below. God bless all of you as always, and your families.